I believe we are live. I'm seeing my live flashing button. How's it going? Hello and welcome to another installment of our RCS remote workflows in a time of COVID-19. Nate Mumford, Director of Sales Engineering, as always, bunkered down here in Danbury, Connecticut in my home office. I thought for today we would talk about essentially recapping what we talked about very early in the beginning of COVID-19, and that would be all of the remote workflows in regards to our RCS line of to-go products. That includes Zetta2GO, Selector2GO, plus we have Acquire2Go, Revma is in there too, some next-gen stuff as well. So I just thought for today, it's a gorgeous Thursday here in Connecticut, and that we would keep an open session. If you got any questions you want to post, feel free to post them down below, and we'll kind of take this any kind of direction you want to take it. So if you want to go and talk about, importing audio into Zetta2GO, we can talk about that. If you want to talk about how to schedule log in Selector2GO or maybe access to that, we can do that too. So any comments, questions, feel free to comment below. Again, this is an open session for you to answer any possible workflows that are in there. So before I forget, I want to remind you about our disaster recovery, RCS Zetta cloud-based disaster recovery for as low as $99 per month. Plus, you will receive a free Zetta2GO license as well. If you have any questions regarding Zetta2GO or Zetta Cloud, you can poke us, direct message us. You can go and reach out to your local RCS sales representative as well. Shoutouts. I want to say hi. Thanks to Bill, an old radio friend of mine. We were talking about some of our audio hardware setups. I actually, went and got a DBX and a Focusrite probably about a couple weeks ago. That's what I have here. I have my new, I moved my pop filter over because I didn't want you to block my face in the camera. But if you want to talk about some hardware questions, we can do that. So I just want to say a shout out to Bill over there. Also, shout out to Joyce, had a question for us in regards to previewing audio in Zetta. Just so you know, Zetta, you can preview any audio, excluding the actual on-air stream. But you can do essentially is you can preview any audio inside of Zetta2GO. I want to make a note here of configuration and, tools. Wait, am I wrong? Nope. Where am I? Hold on a second. I have so many versions here. There we go. Configuration, hide audio audition player. You'll see from the very bottom down here, this is my audition player. I can always hide it. And if I wanted to preview any audio, all I have to do again is just go in here and preview some audio. It will kind of reappear at the very bottom of the screen. You can see here there's an audition asset item. So if you need to audition anything like Joyce was asking, you can definitely do that in Zetta2GO. If you have GSelector and Zetta, if you have Selector2GO, you can also preview audio from Selector2GO as well. Let's see here. Comments, as always, you can post here. John, hello. Thank you for checking in. We appreciate it. Hello, Di. Good morning, Di. Shout out to Di and Corey for helping me out as always. Can we change the font color in style in Zetta2GO, or we're talking about Zetta proper or local Zetta? I'm using my Zetta2GO. I'm still using for this demo. I'm doing my 4.19.2 version of Zetta2GO. There's also the 5.20.1. That's the dark mode version of Zetta2GO. And because Di asked, I will go ahead and open up my 5.20. In Zetta itself, yes, you can absolutely change Zetta. So we're talking about, here, I'll bring that up right now. I have my Zetta here. So we got our first question for today, asking if we could change the font color and style, everything. You absolutely can. I always use the analogy. We had one of our clients in Florida. They were carrying the Miami Dolphins, and they have their entire Zetta is completely Miami Dolphin color, a bright, bright orange and a bright, bright green all across the board here in the log module. And that's essentially for, to show the Miami Dolphins colors. And it's very interesting on the eyes. It's very, very Florida, but that's what they wanted, and we can definitely do that. Configuration, themes and appearances. There's also preferences as well. Some ways for you to adjust certain things. So you can see here, based on themes, this is just all of my different color schemes that I have here. So if you do want to tailor your Zetta to your proper color scheme, you can do so here. Again, it's just configuration and then themes and appearances. And you can see I have some themes here on the left-hand side. They're all broken down by modules, so log editor, media library, Z player, user interface. They're all in here as well. You got font size as well as overall color schemes and some overrides, if you will. And every user can have their own. So again, you can see here themes, appearances over here versus row highlighting up there as well. So you can color customize all of those things. As you can see here, these are all of the color attributes for sound code, mood, tempo, energy, row highlighting as well. This is what I was talking about in regards to the Miami Dolphins colors. If you want your rows to be highlighted as well, that's all configuration, themes, and appearances. And just be aware too, if you have your accounts here, configuration and accounts, you can also go here and specify what preference they want in regards to their own theme. So that is also user specific, just so you know. So if you want to customize your theme and attributes, you can do so just like that. Checking and see here. Paul. Hello, Paul. Thank you for checking in. Let's see here. I'm not making any Miami Dolphins jokes here, Di. That's just unnecessary. We need our sports. I was going to kick off this Facebook Live with a photo of Mr. Met. I really was going to do that, but I decided against it. Absolutely no jokes for the Miami Dolphins this year. I got a Tampa Bay Buccaneers joke in my head. Anyway, so as always, hello, Paul. As always, feel free to comment here. I can take this. It's an open session in regards to remote workflows. So we have Zetta, Zetta2GO, Selector2GO. If you have your questions, any kind of solutions you want answered, definitely let me know here, and be more than happy to help you. If it's too specific, or for whatever reason you want to kind of ask us offline, I have a lot of users like Joyce, for example, who reached out to us via email or direct message, and we can definitely help you out there too. So definitely answer any questions you may have. So let's see here. All right, so that's there. Great. So I thought we would talk about overall here. We have this great URL we created when the COVID-19 quarantine first happened. We kind of created essentially a website, a splash page for you to look at and see all the ways that you can, voice track, schedule, add audio using RCS2GO products. I just love this picture here. It's one of my favorite stories. I was at the Conclave last year, and we were at one of our friends over at KBLB. He came over and he was just like, "Hey guys, I love Zetta2GO. It's fantastic." And I was just curious, like, "Oh, okay. Like, what do you mean?" And he's like, "I literally broadcasted live on the lake all July 4th weekend." And I'm like, "You got to send me a picture of this." And what you can't see is right here on the right-hand side, his feet are actually up on the dashboard of the boat. We had to crop that out for business purposes. But you can see the RE20, little board. He's got his laptop with the Zetta2GO, and boom, he's broadcasting live on the lake. So let's see here, going through. Paul's got a question regarding the new update on Zetta 5.20.1. Absolutely, Paul, it's allowed. Go ahead, post here. I'll answer your question for you. Hello to Rich as well. So if you're looking for some kind of remote solutions here with your to-go line of products, this is a great splash page for you. And again, what we do is we broke down every step of the way how you and your team can essentially schedule, massage the log. That's using Selector2GO. By the way, Selector2GO is included in your GSelector contract. So if you're not utilizing this yet, definitely let us know, because it's a great asset, a great tool to help you and your team. Then, of course, we have Zetta2GO. That's got the on-air module. That's over here. Again, it's got the on-air module, logs, the library, the hotkeys, system monitor, voice tracking as well. That's all in here. And from there, we have Acquira2GO. That's where your sales staff can work remotely. Dawn, our Acquira sales engineer, was on here. I believe it was last week. It feels like it was 2 years ago. I believe it was last week. Don't forget, all our videos are archived on our Facebook page as well as rcsworks.com. You can just go to rcsworks.com. And then from here, you can then go to the blog section. Me personally, when I try to find videos for users, what I recommend doing is going to the blog section up here. See where it says blog. So again, rcsworks.com, go to the blog. And then for me, I found it helpful to do remote workflows in the search box. And then you'll see that will give us essentially all of our previous blog posts. So capabilities there. I can scroll down, questions and answers, and there's a whole bunch of videos here that you can see in regards to remote workflows. They're all in here, and all the videos are embedded as well. Most of them are timestamped, just so you know. So in case you're curious about what it is, we have a timestamp there, as well as a description of what is going on in the video itself. So if you're curious about how, what we're talking about and how and why, that's in there too. And as always, there's a great video here of a conversation with our CTO, Chip Jellison. That's a great watch. So I thought for today, we'll very briefly go over some generic workflows. Ooh, totally forgot about Zetta, cloud-based disaster recovery. That's in there too, as well as our Revma conference app. So if you do have a morning show, you're looking for a centralized location to bring in multiple mic inputs. The example is a morning show. I can have essentially create this conference room app. It's one location. From there, I can invite a whole bunch of people with their own microphone sources. We create a room. That room then gets assigned to a hotkey in Zetta, which looks just like this, by the way. If I'll change my library to my hotkeys. Don't forget, hotkeys have a local mode and an on-air mode. Local mode is for voice tracking locally. I also have my volume mixer here. So in case if I want to go and actually adjust the volume of, let's say, a music bed or something, that's in here. If I switch to on-air mode, this truly is on the air. If I fire this hotkey, it's going to be over the air. But you'll see I have a conference link test. This is essentially that stream from the conference app. And if I click this and enable it, it's going to go live with the exact stream that I have with the conference app. You can see here, I specified an hour. You do need a time frame for it just so it knows when to start and end. It could be as extensive or as simple as you want it to be, but that's where we get those conference apps. So Paul was asking, let's see here. So Paul was saying there was a feature in the stacks module where you can right-click on the stacks, drag in the hooks into the main log. I got to double check and see there, Paul. I do know we're working on an extensive hook feature that is for down the road. I won't going to talk about it right now. I do know we have some really cool things coming down the line in regards to hooks. I'll double check and see where the hook and dragging it back in the log. I'll look into that for you. But yes, what Paul is referring to, by the way, is actually a really cool feature, or a kind of a workflow, if you will. Modules and stacks. I show this a lot for users who want to have a quick promo on the fly. We've all been there where essentially it's, kind of middle of, August, and there's sometimes not a lot of things to talk about. So we need that great content break where we can create something on the fly. What I did here is I have a coming up next promo. I have some sound effects that I created with Zetta's multi-track editor. And then what essentially do is this is a cool break for your 45 into spots. So that kind of quick 20 seconds teasing what's coming up in the next hour. If you don't have that production director who can create these on the fly, what you can do is essentially have a sound effect. Again, recorded that using the multi-track editor. And then I have these elements. So these are just songs that I essentially dragged in from my log itself. They can be, powers, recurrence, gold records. It's really what you want to do in regards to what's the songs you're trying to preview in the upcoming hour. But I just drag it, put it into my stacks player here. I right click and I essentially go hook enabled. And what that will do is it allows that 7 seconds here of Zed the middle to play. And then I have everything with my chains segue into it. So the break would be something along the lines of, I would have in my on-air sequencer here, I would take this, put this in manual mode. I would change my stop chain after it's all said and done. So when this song is over, I would talk, and it would sound something along the lines of, getting back my radio voice going again, it would sound something along the lines of, WRCS FM, that was Baby Rexta with the song I'm a Mess. It is Nate. We have another hour of great music on the way from songs by, and I would hit this play button here or the play next here. Remember, in the stacks player, the play next will respect whatever the highlight is. So if it's down here, sound effects 1, it's going to play that. If I go to this top one here, it will play this. Now, because I have the chain type in order, it will play sound effect, hook, sound effect, hook, sound effect, hook, and then it will end with a sweeper of my choice. When this sweeper is done, it's going to stop because I told it to stop. And then I would fire the next element on here or my board and put it back into live assist or auto mode, whatever it may be. And boom, we're back on the air. So it's a cool way of doing a quick promo on the fly. Again, all I do here is drag and drop it into the stacks player, use my right click, hook enabled, and then I can bring in, different sound effects and whatnot to kind of mix it up. I think a little smarter, not harder. So what I did is I went ahead and showed you here, I have essentially 3 hours worth of promos. So if I wanted to tease this, in theory, every break going in my 45, I dragged and dropped because the log can show you all of the elements in the future. I'll drag this over here. You can see that I can grab my 11, grab my 12, grab my 1. I can do my entire 10 to 3 shift in theory, drag all my hooks into my stacks player, and boom, I can play that. It's a quick promo on the fly. It's really cool. Let's see here. Going back to the comments. Hi to Martha. Thank you for checking in, Martha. I appreciate that. And so, Paul, I'll definitely reach out. I'll test that in regards to dragging the hooks back in the main log. I'll do that. Of course, if you have any questions here, this is an open session for you. Feel free to drag and drop your comments and questions here. Reach out to us directly, or you can always email us live at rcsworks.com. So to review once again, going back to our remote workflows here, we have Selector2GO. That has the schedule, everything in it. You can see here, this respects your local selector usernames and passwords. You can find that up, by going to your local selector and checking that out there. I'm just going to log in with my selector here, and you can see as I first log in. That's fine. I was going to tell you, just so you know, if you ever have multiple databases in your GSelector, when you first log in, there's a drop-down arrow right there. That's where you can choose which database your Selector2GO is accessing. I have mine as default. Most users have theirs as default, but in case you do have multiple databases, that's where you switch it from there. So Selector2GO, again, just to review, you want to be on version 4.8.0. That is, I believe, the latest and greatest. But 4.7.1 is where we added a lot of really cool features to Selector2GO. If you have a valid support contract, you can upgrade for free. There's even a website, rcsworks.com/bookings. That's where you can go and pretty much like a doctor's appointment. You can pick a time, and RCS support. Shout out to everyone over in RCS support as well. They will help you out, get you upgraded, and all of that good stuff. So just so you know, you're not alone. We can help you here, get you up to the latest and greatest. Selector2GO, there's my stations at the very top. I have my RCS Hot AC. I have my access to my library, linker, clocks, scheduler, editor, analysis, tools. I can click on the on-air icon here. That's going to bring me right to the editor. Remember, with Zetta and GSelector 100% live integration, I can make a change in one, and it's automatically reflected in the other. And that includes the corresponding to-go product. So I kind of think of it as kind of like a U almost. So I have essentially GSelector, I have Zetta, I have Selector2GO, and I have Zetta2GO. If I make a change in Selector2GO, it's reflected in Zetta2GO, which is reflected in Zetta, which is reflected in GSelector, which is reflected in Selector2GO. It's really, really cool because when you have a team of multiple members, you can make a change in one, and again, the next person in that workflow has access to it. So if I'm a program director, I can schedule a log in Selector2GO. I can go to the editor, I can massage it. Everything here is the same. You can see my color scheme is very much the same as my GSelector that has dark mode enabled. That's why it's gray and black. I can go to an element, hit K on here. I can do J for jump. All of your normal hotkeys are there. So I did a Believer, Imagine Dragons. I'll do the Chainsmokers, something just like this. I'll bring that in here too. So there is Imagine Dragons getting replaced by something just like us. It's like this. They'll go back to my Zetta. You'll see here, if I go back, that Imagine Dragons song is going to update. I got my recordings in Zoom, so it'll take a couple seconds here, but that'll get updated as well. Actually, no, I'm sorry. That's not my on-air. Different Imagine Dragons. I'll go back to my home button here. And there's the Chainsmokers and Coldplay. There you go. That's the song that changed. All right. So again, really cool. Program director can schedule a log in Selector2GO, can massage it. That's in Zetta. And then if I want to add a new asset, I can always go to my Zetta2GO, and I'll go back to my layout. I'm going to edit my layout, change my hotkeys, and go to my library. I'm going to save that layout. I'm going to load that over here, check my comments here. Rich checking in as well. Rich said, can you cover a bit on sound codes and how they should be used? Cheers. Cheers, Rich. So we talking about the GSelector side of things. Just so you know, there is all those attributes are shared amongst Zetta and GSelector. So what I usually encourage users to do is, since Zetta is the brawn, they're the one that's actually playing all of the elements. I like to have my workflow, because Zetta needs the audio, you should put your audio in Zetta first, because you can set your marks, right? Here's your marks. There's a trim ins, trim outs, intro 1, 2, 3, segue points, all of that. I just double clicked on this element. That brought up the metadata song window. Left-hand side here, these are my stations that are active. Check means active. No check means inactive. I have my title, my artist. I can go to my extra tab here after setting my marks. There's some information here that you might utilize, including the playback method. Then there's station specifics. In Zetta2GO, you have these just right here, categories, pretty much simple stuff. If you wanted to, you can also go back to your local Zetta. I can double click on an element here, and at your local Zetta, we have the option, of course, to put in the sound codes, all of those attributes as well. The same attributes apply to Selector2GO too. I know I'm bouncing around pretty quickly here. I'm just waiting for things to load. I can go to my library. Actually, I'll just double click on this Chainsmokers, because double clicking works just like it would in GSelector. I can double click on an element. That's going to bring up the song properties in the library as well. That load up over here. There we go. That blue is because I double clicked one too many times. So Rich is asking, can you go over a little bit on sound codes? So you can see here, this is where I have my, go back. I'm clicking too many times around here. That's be where I can go and go to that screen there. But I'll go to my GSelector right now. I'll let this load up here. Let's see if I can't go. I clicked one too many times. And so sound codes in GSelector, I'm going to take this step back and use just attributes in general. Remember, there's goal and rule-based scheduling in GSelector, which is really cool. The concept is that you can tell GSelector, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, but I want you to do this, this, and this, right? It's a really, really powerful tool, because your priority list could be a combination of do this and don't do this. So we encourage you to use both. In regards to these attributes, we do have what we call goals, right? Spread goals in GSelector. And I'm just going to go pick my database here, open this up. I am on version 4.8.0. You're going to see this in dark mode, just so you know. That's what I like. Helps my eyes a little bit. And so in regards to attributes and spread goals, the concept is it takes a look at your library and it does its best to push things across, right? And the example I can use is if we just have everything is 50-50, an even split, an even ratio, GSelector will go and say, well, I just played you. I'm going to play another attribute, and then kind of mix those two into the playlist. But don't forget, it's a goal. So it's going to do its best to kind of push those apart, but still schedule the songs itself. You can always put minimum separations on attributes if you wanted to. You can always say, hey, maybe there's a sound code guitar pop that I have here, and that could be essentially a minimum separation on that. A great way to access that is goals, balance, attributes. That's going to give you a complete snapshot of your library. I love working in this window. Goals, balance, attributes. These are all of your attributes here. And again, sound code is one of them. I'm a big believer in having these core songs, core artist attributes, because again, you're telling GSelector, if you establish songs that are core, secondary, and kind of filler, you can really push those across, which is cool. And you can always, identify them too. So if they're kind of songs you want to make sure that visually speaking, if you're a massager and you're in the editor, you can see those colors, pop out pretty quickly. But you can see I have like Nate's core songs, right? I got 40 songs. That's roughly 58.7% of my library. You might ask yourself, using sound codes, do I want to have, 60% pop, 40% pop if you're a classic rock station? Do you want to have 70% classic artists? It's up to you, whatever you want them to be. But the beauty about goals, balance, and attributes is that you can see an exact snapshot of both your day part and the cross day part analysis right here of your library, what it looks like. You can see here too. Those are my attributes there. Or I can switch back here and go back to balance. So I'm assuming, Rich, your question was talking about sound codes in regards to what about if it's coded versus not coded, right? So first off, if I don't have any rules in my goals and priority lists, right? If my spread goal is not here, then GSelector is not going to take into account those songs or those attributes rather, because they're not included in the list. So GSelector doesn't care to look for them. But let's say you do have some elements in here. It's always great to go back to the goals, balance, attributes. And you can see here, there's a not coded section. Now I have 0 songs that are in my not coded because I properly coded my library. But let's just say you're relatively brand new to GSelector, or you're doing some maintenance. You got some time with, being in quarantine. You can see right here how many songs are actually have an issue, right? All the not coded songs. We have some users that are like, ooh, I have a whole bunch of not coded songs. Is it wrong? Not necessarily. As I said, the priority list has to be in there. But let's just say you do have spread sound code. The not coded attribute by default is its own attribute. So in this mix, let's just say my Nate's Core songs, those 40 songs, are actually not coded. Well, then it's going to treat this as an attribute not coded. So it's going to spread my pop with my secondary core songs and my pop or R&B with my not coded elements. If you need to fix your not coded elements pretty quickly, again, don't forget, work smarter, not harder. This is my library. It's kind of like a filter. I can go here on the left-hand side, go to my sound code. There's a not coded section right there. I can filter only by my not coded songs. And then from here, I can either double click them and adjust them, or I can use my browse list right here. And I can go by attribute and say, okay, Julian Baker, she's going to be a, Nate's Core song. Crash Test Dummies, I'm going to go and make that one also a same category as, Julian Baker. And I can save this. And then I have a filter here. So I'll just use my Adele test because it's already here. Here's 3 songs by Adele. You can see there's 3 songs. I can go to my multi-song changer. And when I jump to the multi-song changer, I'm not going to save my browse list. That's what that was there. I have how many songs selected? 3 songs selected. And now I can go here to my attributes, hit the plus, go to the edit, and then I have my sound code. I can bring in my art rock, whatever it is, hit close. And when I save this, it will go and save the sound code art rock to the 3 songs selected, and we're good to go. So in regards to sound code attributes, if it's not coded, is it a problem? Only if it's in your actual priority list. And then even then, you want to make sure it's going to spread evenly across everything else. The other example would be for vocal. If you had kind of, let's say, a female vocal and everything else you don't really care about, you just want to put in kind of a rule that says don't play 3 females back to back. Well, in that case, if you identify the female attribute vocal, in theory, there's really no need to put in the male because everybody else would be male. So by default, the not coded is kind of like a male attribute, and then you've identified the female to then go and schedule accordingly. Again, you can always go back to the library, browse, sort by, vocal and not coded, and then you can go from there and adjust some of your songs too. Let's see here. Rich, you're guilty. I know what you're guilty of, Rich, but I'm going to say that you're off the hook, man. Don't worry about it. So it's a great tool. If you need to fix your not coded elements, again, work smarter, not harder. You have the browse list here to isolate, drag and drop certain elements. You can always filter by not coded attributes so that you can see them in here. I love these little checkbox here. That's under the setup. It's let's see here, setup, station, features, advanced, I'm not mistaken. Features, advanced. Nope, miscellaneous, because it's the, right here, library, browse, selection mode. GSelector Legacy versus standard Windows selection. I prefer the GSelector Legacy mode, which is early days of 4.2, or or 2.0, I guess. I think I knew from 4.2. But what that does is I'm going to refresh this just so you can see no filters. You might notice that Christmas tree stamp here. You're always wondering, what's this invert song selection? It's for this exact thing. So for example, I'll say never mind. I'm just going to check that box. See now the show unselected songs is 1 of 153. I can, let's say, do face to face. I'll do chasing cars, and I'll do wolves. So there's my 4 songs. I can actually invert this. There's my 4 songs, right? The 4 songs that are here. I can then go to my multi-song changer and, ooh, look at that. 4 songs. See what I did there? Library browse. I enabled the GSelector legacy setting. That gives me this row of checkboxes. And what I did is I used this invert song selection to essentially click, isolate elements, invert it, and then I have control for the multi-song changer. Same exact thing works with linker as well, just so you know. So hopefully that, hey man, Rich was saying that essentially he's guilty of having not coded attributes. We've all been there, Rich. It's why we have not coded in there, to let you know you got to fix these things in there too. So hopefully that helps in the sound code as well. Any other questions, let me know. Again, this is an open session for you. We're doing this every single week, Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern time. It's kind of our open session for remote workflows in the age of COVID-19. Just ways to help you out. So if you have any questions, like Rich was saying, I'm doing some library maintenance in GSelector. What about the not coded attribute? If you have, let's say, issues, like I said earlier, Joyce was talking about to preview audio in the audition in Zetta2GO, you can do that as well. And I know wrapping up here a little bit, but talking about Zetta2GO and adding elements, you can always go and add a brand new media from here. Just a refresher, jumping back to our Zetta2GO, we're having a workflow where we want to add brand new audio. Don't forget, these are asset types: songs, links, spots, voice track, quick records. They're all asset types. If you want to add one to the mix, let's say there's one in the library, but you can't see it here, you can see I have custom attributes, custom asset types. I got to put my Zetta hat on. You can see I can just add them just like this, and boom, they're now in Zetta2GO to be accessed and edit. Now, I have plus, refresh, delete, audition. They're all in here. There's a search function as well. But if I wanted to create a brand new song, if you notice, if I just hit this plus right now, I have the morning show imaging. That's my highlighted asset type. I am adding, editing, deleting the morning show imaging asset type. So if I go and hit this plus right here, it's going to give me what? A metadata morning show imaging window. See that right there? Metadata morning show imaging. And that's because I am adding a new asset type, morning show imaging. If I wanted to add a spot, for example, I'm not going to save my changes. I said no on there. If I want to do a spot, for example, I click the asset type spots. That's going to bring up and load all of my spots in here. After I do that, I can then go to the plus, add brand new media for spots. I'm going to let this load a couple of seconds here. When I add the plus, then I can go and you'll see that this should show me a metadata spots window. Yeah, I'm a little behind with the recording software and Zoom and the Zetta2GO. I got a lot of input sources going on here. My computer is loading stuff. So you can see there, that gives me the spots. I hit the plus, it's going to load accordingly, and there you go. So yeah, so there's all the spots on here. I'll hit the add new media for spots. That should now give me the metadata spots window for you there too. Any other questions before we kind of wrap up for today? I'll kind of give a little 2-minute warning. If you want your questions answered, feel free to comment below. Otherwise, you can always direct message us, live, rcsworks.com, all that good stuff. So reminding you too, don't forget about our Zetta cloud-based disaster recovery. That is going to be available for you, plus an additional Zetta2GO seat, if this will load up here. Wow, my computer is a little backlogged and processes here, so I'm just going to minimize that. And don't forget, too, the RCS remotework.rcsworks.com. This is going to show you an option of all the remote capabilities in the age of coronavirus. Again, talking about, we got some videos of testing things on here, but we have the schedule. We have control with Zetta2GO. We have Acquira for sales, and we have Zetta cloud-based disaster recovery. That's in there too, with some other examples of other great articles. If you want to find old videos and archives, rcsworks.com, the blog. Again, I said me personally, I like to go remote workflows. That's in there. And yep. So, and then that's, I think that's pretty good for today. I was going to show some Zetta Cloud stuff. Maybe I'll save it for next week. So, if you have any questions, as I said, email us. I think that's good for today. Thank you, Rich. Thank you, everybody, for checking in. Some great questions there as well. And you can always email us, and we'll answer them for you outside of these open sessions. Otherwise, I will see you next Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Have a fantastic weekend. Be safe, be healthy, and all that good stuff. So thanks for checking in. Talk to you in a bit. Bye-bye.